This is your World War III update. I'm going to make this as quick as possible. Here's what time it is. As many of you know, a new war front has opened up between Pakistan and India, both nations that possess nuclear weapons and have been saber-rattling with said weapons for the past couple months. Now, it appears as though that they are on a rapid trajectory towards full-on combined arms warfare. These are not just some minor cross-border skirmishes. They're using ballistic missiles. They're shooting down fighter jets. The Pakistanis claim to have shot down up to 5 fighter jets. I've seen estimates as high as 7, although I think the truth is closer to 2 to 3, but we really don't know at this point in time. Of course, those fighter jets are going to be Russian and French fighter jets primarily. And interestingly, this all came 1 hour after Donald Trump made another extemporaneous remark in a press conference, of all places. You think if you were announcing the end of a military campaign as vast as the one that was against the Houthis, that you would have a dedicated press conference for something like that. But this is just an off-the-cuff remark. Oh yeah, by the way, we decided to suspend all operations against the Houthis because they capitulated. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. This is a bold-face lie. The scope and scale of the lies being told to the American people right now, my God, what they're going to say in the history books, depending on who wins wars and depending on, I guess, the amount of data that is left over after the nuclear dust settles. It might just be with pen and paper on scrolls or something the way we're going. But the U.S. lost another F-18 today, the third F-18 they lost. Oh, it was just some sort of error or something. I can't even remember the excuse they used this time, okay? So we have no idea what's going on out there. It is Mad Max out there. Waterworld is probably it's Waterworld right now in the high seas. The U.S. has lost all ability to enforce the maritime corridors that are used for global trade. Now, the Houthis have claimed that this is all bullshit. What are you talking about? This Oman intermediary, we didn't agree to any of this whatsoever. And our prime directive has always been to target Israeli ships, not U.S. ships. And we are going to continue with that operation. And we're unfazed by the fact that you completely destroyed our international airport. I don't even know how much it was being used, to be brutally honest. But it appears as though Trump is creating a false discord between Israel and the United States in order to justify the next leg of escalation. Because as all this is happening, guys, get a load of this. They're now sending more B-52s to Diego Garcia. And it occurred to me, Diego Garcia, if you're limited in terms of your capability to project power around the world, like the United States is quickly becoming an aged, decrepit version of its former self, and it no longer has the means of deploying these expeditionary forces and putting out all of these fires, well, you would want to play zone defense, or in the Department of Defense's case, offense, right? Any country that calls himself the Department of Defense is probably on the offensive somewhere in the world. So Diego Garcia, you'll notice it's equidistant to Iran, Pakistan, and even, it gets up in there in the Philippines and Taiwan in the South China Sea, okay? So you got 6 stealth bombers here. You got several B-52s, all kinds of stratotankers. They're getting ready for war. Do not buy this rapprochement détente with the Houthis nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense. All the while, Kiev is being lit up like a Christmas tree right now. We're talking about bombardment after bombardment, multiple. Usually the Russians, they'll do their daily attack on the capital. But this time it's coming in waves. And it's just insane to think that there's still people who aren't taking this seriously at this point. And the funny thing is, as we approach Day X, people are getting madder and madder because they're realizing how unprepared they are. So they're just getting angrier and angrier because they unconsciously realize that time's running out and the only thing to do is either stay in that space of denial and anger There's still time to prep. There is still time to prep. So don't waste any more time, all right? We had gold touch a new closing day high on Wall Street anyways before going back down once again. But, you know, I mean, this is to be expected at this point in time. Gold is for war. It's a barometer for social chaos. It is going to go a lot higher, and that's not a good thing because all that means is that the dollar is worth less and less. I mean, Buffett cautioned against only holding American currencies, which is very out of character for a guy who always said, always bet on America. And as I told you yesterday, an hour before, literally an hour, maybe a couple hours before Buffett came out and said that he was retiring, I sent out a tweet and I said that when Buffett dies, the U.S. stock market will die with him. Okay, but because he's the last vestige of common sense and patience and discipline in a market that is just driven by hysteria and mania. Okay, so at this point in time, I mean, with Trump just making things up, I mean, today I just heard that he wants to rename he's not going to address the Persian Gulf as the Persian Gulf. He's going to address it as the Arabian Gulf, as he claims that he's going to be unveiling earth-shattering news on his trip to the Middle East that starts this Thursday. Now, it could very well be the case that in order for him to feel comfortable going there in the first place, they need to cool tensions down a bit. That's probably what this is all about. And as soon as he leaves, they're going to turn it back on again. Mark my words, bookmark this video, okay, at 7 minutes, the timestamp. And as soon as he's gone out of the Middle East, they're going to turn it back on again. And the war with the Houthis and the Americans hasn't ended. Look, the Israelis and the Americans are synonymous. So anybody who is making this argument, oh, the Americans are abandoning the Israelis. The Houthis never intended to target American ships per se. The directive has always been to have an embargo against the Israelis. And they say they're going to continue to do that. Why did the Americans intervene at all? Well, they claim it was to make sure that there weren't unruly, bad actors throwing missiles around and, you know, making the maritime corridors unsafe. And, of course, at the behest of Israel. So if Israel is saying that they're going to take over all of the Gaza Strip, and that is now their stated directive. It is no longer just some possible idea. It is their prime objective at this point in time is to conquer all of Gaza. And they said as much in those words. This is why the Houthis are attacking Israel in the first place. So the Houthis are going to continue to attack Israel. So the Americans are going to come back eventually and help the Israelis. But for whatever reason, they're starting to learn that maybe, and really I think the emperor has no clothes at this point. I mean, you got Trump wanting to call the Persian Gulf the Arabian Gulf, which shows you, you know, what state the current relations between the Iranians and the Americans are currently in. You know, you got him posting pictures of himself as the Pope. And it's really, look, Biden was clearly had dementia going on in full swing by the time he was out of office. But something's going on with Trump. I don't know if it's delusions of grandeur. I mean, he's talking about Alcatraz. You know, it really just starts to seem, and you know, that Mike Tyson fight with Jake Paul, that really is the American empire in a nutshell. It's like trying to relive our old glory days when Hulk Hogan tried to peel off his shirt there at that Republican convention or whatever it was. You know, I just seen it right there. I caught a glimpse of what was happening. They're really trying to relive the American heyday, but that doesn't exist anymore. And what you get is Mike Tyson, who is America, right, at its peak. When I'm talking peak Tyson, early 80s, right, peak America. Maybe you can even say it was a little bit before that, But by and large, the Soviet Union collapsing, America was the top dog, right? And he's fighting Jake Paul. Who's Jake Paul? Just some amateur influencer boxer, right? That's the Houthis. And Mike Tyson couldn't beat Jake Paul. Now, some people think he threw the fight. Maybe. Who knows? But let's just take it at face value and presume that he didn't. Well, that's America, baby. It's over. It really is. We are the farcical display that we currently exhibit must be regarded by the rest of the world. The rest of the world understands what's happening, that we're losing our grip. We can no longer effectively enforce control in international waters, which is what the preeminent global power is supposed to be able to do if they want to have the global reserve currency. So if we can't do that, then why would people want our money, right? So anyways, Trump is saying that he's going to make some grand deal and probably something to do with the Abraham Accords, I presume. Maybe he's going to get cheaper oil from Saudi Arabia and they're going to give them more weapons or something. Who knows? But you got to prepare, man, because things are only going to get worse. As I've been saying, I mean, you need to prepare for weeks without electricity, okay? You need to be ready for a major grid down event. Every war that flares up increases the tension everywhere else. And have you just noticed it's just a new front opening up every other time? I wouldn't be surprised if we see some shots fired over the North Korea-South Korean border at some point in time. So, and these are nuclear armed powers that are currently going at it. This is actually a first in a lot of ways, assuming that Iran doesn't actually have nuclear weapons and assuming that Ukraine is but a proxy of NATO. I think, one could make the argument that maybe Iran does have nukes, maybe the West would come to Ukraine's aid, but there's no denying that Pakistan and India have nuclear weapons. Some people are calling it the iPhone war, as there's jockeying for position to see who becomes the cheap labor industrial manufacturer of the planet. And of course, Pakistan being leveraged as a Chinese proxy. So I really don't have many unique observations to share with you today. It's such a fluid situation. Canada was embarrassed, as we all expected, with that obsequious display in the Oval Office today. I've never seen such sycophancy on display as I did when Mark Carney embarrassed himself. Quite frankly, he came off as a total pussy. Even more so than Justin Trudeau in many respects, which is crazy. I know Trudeau is a drama teacher, so he's used to being a bit of an exhibitionist, but that was pretty pathetic, wouldn't you say? So it is what it is. Just keep on prepping. The trade war, Trump says there's no possibility to patch things up with Canada. Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, is claiming that he's going to meet with his Chinese counterpart in Switzerland. They might bump into each other. And of course, that's going to set the markets on fire once again tomorrow. Don't buy it. This is World War III. It's only going to get worse. Like I said, many people are going to succumb to the enticing oscillations in the market. You're going to see crazy sky-high days ahead. You're going to see days when the market is just on fire. But generally speaking, it is going to be a downward trend. Not because even anything has to happen, because the market remains at one of the most overvalued states that it's been in all of history. So stock up on food, take care of yourself, buy some, emergency medical supplies, plant a garden. This is the time to plant a garden. Plant a victory garden. Okay, if you got dirt, if you got a yard, learn how to garden immediately. It's not just for hobbies. It's not just for prepping. It's to save money. And the cost of food nowadays is so exorbitant that it's going to reach a point where you'll have no choice, where it's going to make sense, the labor that you have to invest in it all. So, what more do I have to say? I was going to release another video today, an interview that we did with a very interesting individual who's talking about the relationship between gold and war. And he puts it in perspective in a way that I've never heard before. But we're going to save that for tomorrow because, you know, people are still reeling from this new front that has opened up. And I don't know what to say. What I do know is that as we approach the proverbial day X, people are going to get madder and madder because they're unprepared. That has become evident to me. As we get closer to that day, as it becomes more obvious and inevitable to everybody, which we're not even close to that point yet with the majority of people, but as we get closer, the denial is going to reach psychotic heights and people are going to start to lose it. They're going to get angry with the people who've been prepared because I guess it's jealousy because they spent too much time doing other dumb shit for the last few years. I mean, COVID was it. That was, you know, the perfect wake-up call. You had 5 years to prepare for what is unfolding now. And people just went back to sleep. Thankfully, you guys didn't. I appreciate you watching the channel. We're going to do a more comprehensive World War III update tomorrow. But for now, I got to get going. It's already late. I was supposed to be doing work around the farm tonight because there's a lot of stuff to get done and time is of the essence. Remember, one day when the lights are on and I'm still broadcasting is worth 100 days when the lights are off. Thanks for watching, my friends. Take care.